crazy can night shift nurses really be? As a doctor, I am well aware of this. That night while making my rounds, I passed by the break room and heard strange noises from inside. Curious, I took a quick glance and saw two people in white coats. It's closely together, one in front of the other. One of them was Veronica Adams, a nurse widely admired for her beauty and innocence, often referred to as the hospital's angel. When she saw me, she didn't shy away. Instead, she invited me to join them. How crazy can a night shift nurse really be? Only those who have lived through it know. My name is Landon Weasley, and I'm a medical doctor fresh out of graduate school. After I graduated, I didn't take a position at one of the major city hospitals, as most of my peers did. Instead, I returned to my hometown and took good job at a private hospital. There, the hospital director promised me a promotion to deputy director after 1 year of service. If it hadn't been for that promise, I wouldn't have come back. But I believed him. In the 3rd month of my tenure, the director called me into his office and said that, due to the shortage of medical staff, they were short on personnel for the night shifts. He insisted that working night shifts was an essential experience if I wanted to become vice director. I believed him and accepted without hesitation that night. I finished my rounds around 11 o'clock and was passing by the break room when I heard something unusual. It was a sound I knew well, but now hearing it in the break room, my mind raced. No, that couldn't be right. Someone who was supposed to be working on a night shift was fooling around in the hospital, and that was strictly forbidden. Besides, I was assumed to be deputy director. It was absolutely unacceptable for something like this to be happening under my watch. I pushed the door but realized it was locked. The noise stopped immediately. I had to go to the bathroom, and by the time I returned, the door was wide open and whoever had been inside was gone. They must have snuck out while I was away. After my rounds, there was little left for me to do, so I decided to go into the break room and play some games on my phone to pass the time. I was so engrossed in the game that I barely noticed. When the door opened, I glanced up and there she was, Veronica Adams, the nurse. Veronica was attractive, with a figure that turned heads without even trying. Even in her nurse's uniform, there was something bold about her dressing. The fabric hugged her curves like a second skin, leaving little to the imagination. Through the thin white material, I could just make out the faint outline of silk stockings, a detail I didn't expect, but couldn't ignore. Landon, what are you doing? She asked, her voice playful. Nothing much. Just playing a game. What game? Chicken dinner, I replied. Chicken, she repeated, raising an eyebrow, a knowing smile playing on her lips. Yeah, chicken, I said, meeting her gaze. Never had chicken before, I teased her. I've had chicken, she said, her voice soft but laced with something else. She slid into the chair beside me, pulling out her own phone. Landon, how long have you been playing here? She asked, her tone light, but with an edge I couldn't ignore. A while, I replied. When I first got here, someone locked the door on me, and I had to wait outside forever. Veronica, was it you who locked the door? I asked, glancing at her with a smile. Her face immediately darkened. I guessed correctly. Was she the one fooling around in here earlier? She forced a smile. Oh, Landon, it wasn't me. I just got here. Can't you see? She resumed playing her game. But now I couldn't help but notice her leg, smooth and white, exposed as she casually shifted her position. Her nurse's uniform had ridden up to her waist, exposing her thigh-high stockings. No panties, just the silk stockings on her flawless skin. I couldn't tear my eyes away. Was this on purpose? Or was she completely unaware of how she was affecting me? Then, almost too casually, her hand brushed over my knee. The sensation shot through me like electricity, and my pulse quickened. My body responded before my mind could catch up. I was caught off guard, unsure of what would happen next. This was all new to me, this raw, electric tension in the air. What would happen now? Chapter 2. Landon, Veronica's voice was a soft whisper in the stillness. What is it? I asked. Do you know I really like you? Her words hung in the air. Her cheeks flushed a deep shade of crimson. My heart pounded in my chest, the rhythm erratic and wild. A confession in the dead of night from a nurse. This was a first for me since joining the hospital. I stuttered, my nerves getting the better of me. What? You don't like me? Her face fell slightly at my hesitation. No, that's not it. So you do like me? Then her hand found mine and placed it on her thigh. Landon, I know men like to touch a girl's thigh. Am I right? Her words were bold, her actions bolder. You like me? I like you. I'm yours sooner or later. So there's no harm in letting you touch me now. Her thigh was smooth and soft beneath my hand. The sensation was intoxicating. My body was on fire. Beads of sweat began forming on my forehead. Landon, you're sweating. Let me help you. She reached for a tissue to wipe my sweat. Her soft body brushed against me. The contact sent a jolt of electricity through me, and my body trembled in response. Landon, what's wrong? Her voice was laced with amusement. Nothing, just a bit nervous. I wiped the sweat from my forehead, my heart still racing. Suddenly, she was in my arms, her soft body pressed against mine. The sensation was like a bolt lightning, electrifying every cell in my body. I didn't even have the courage to breathe heavily. My hands found their way to her voluptuous hips. Ah, she let out a soft gasp. Just then her phone rang. She quickly released me and picked up her phone. Her expression changed slightly. Landon, I'm sorry. I have to take care of something. Wait for me here tomorrow night. I have a surprise for you. After she left, I was left alone with the lingering sensation of her touch. I was so close, but there was always tomorrow. I was hardly immune to her teasing. My thoughts were consumed by her, and I could hardly contain my anticipation for tomorrow night. As I stepped out of the break room, I saw Dr. Vincent McCartney. I was taken aback. Why was he working the night shift? His name wasn't on the schedule. Dr. McCartney. He smiled at me. Dr. Weasley, working the night shift's tough, huh? It's all right, I replied. Dr. Weasley, you're young and talented and a doctoral graduate. It seems the deputy director position is yours for the taking. I laughed it off. You flatter me. Dr. McCartney, I thought you weren't scheduled for the night shift. Dr. McCartney, did you volunteer for overtime? I asked, curious. Well, I have a patient who needs special care. His words struck me as odd. I had checked all the wards during the night shift. There were no patients who required special care. Could he be eyeing the deputy director position as well? After exchanging a few pleasantries, I left. Towards the end of the night shift, I passed by Dr. McCartney's office. I heard strange noises coming from inside, similar to the ones I heard in the break room. Was someone messing around in there? The office door was, it's slightly ajar. Inside, I saw Dr. McCartney and Veronica. She was bent over, her hands on the desk, her back bare. Just as Dr. McCartney was about to touch her, he saw me. Dr. Weasley, care to join us? McCartney's voice was as smooth as silk, yet it carried a serrated edge that made my skin crawl. He stood there, one hand resting on the small of Veronica's bare back, the other holding a half-empty glass of amber liquid. The angelic nurse didn't move. She didn't scramble to cover herself. Instead, she turned her head slowly, looking at me with eyes that were no longer playful, but cold and calculating. I was just finishing my rounds. I stammered, my heart hammering against my ribs. The image of her in the break room, the silk stockings, the soft skin, clashed violently with the scene before me. McCartney chuckled, a dry, hollow sound. Don't be so stiff, Landon. We're all colleagues here. In this hospital, the night shift is a different world. The rules of the sun don't apply under the fluorescent lights. Veronica finally moved. She straightened up, slowly pulling her uniform back over her shoulders, but she didn't button it. She walked toward me, the clicking of her heels echoing in the silent hallway. When she reached me, she leaned in close, her scent, a mix of expensive perfume and antiseptic, filling my senses. You're late for our game, Landon, she whispered, her voice barely audible. Then, she walked past me without a backward glance. McCartney stepped out of his office, adjusting his tie. She's a handful, isn't she? But she's loyal to those who hold the power. Remember that, Dr. Weasley. The deputy director position requires more than just medical skill. It requires discretion. He patted my shoulder, a gesture that felt more like a threat than a friendly touch, and walked away. I stood there in the dim light, realizing that the angel I had been infatuated with was a piece on a chessboard I didn't yet understand. The next morning, the sun felt too bright, too honest. I couldn't sleep. My mind kept looping back to McCartney's office. If he and Veronica were involved, and the director had promised me the promotion, where did that leave McCartney? He had been at the hospital for 10 years. Why would they pass him over for a fresh graduate? I decided to do some digging. Instead of going home, I went to the records room. As a doctor, I had access to patient files, but I was looking for something else. The duty roster and the hospital's financial reports from the last quarter. The private hospital, Silver Oaks, was supposed to be a gold mine, but as I flipped through the digital logs, I noticed a pattern. High-end equipment was being billed for, but there were no maintenance logs to match. Expensive medications were discarded, due to expiration at an alarming rate. And then I saw it. The special care patients McCartney had mentioned. They weren't in the general ward. They were listed under a restricted wing, Section 7, a part of the hospital I had been told was under renovation. Looking for something, Landon? I jumped, nearly knocking over the monitor. It was the director, Dr. Sterling. He was standing in the doorway, his face a mask of grandfatherly concern. Just reviewing some case files, sir. I said, my voice shaking. Good. Dedication. That's what I like to see, Sterling said, walking over. He closed the laptop screen gently. But don't overwork yourself. We need you sharp for the night shifts. By the way, I heard you had a run-in with McCartney last night. He can be eccentric. Don't let him get in your head. The deputy position is yours, as long as you keep your eyes on the patients and off the politics. His smile didn't reach his eyes. I realized then that the promotion wasn't a reward. It was a bribe. That night, the hospital felt heavier. The silence was pregnant with secrets. I avoided the break room, but I couldn't avoid the surprise Veronica had promised. At midnight, a note was slipped under my office door. Roof. 12:15. Don't be a coward. I went. The air on the rooftop was cold and crisp. Veronica was standing by the edge, the wind whipping her hair around her face. She wasn't wearing her nurse's uniform. She was in a simple black dress that made her look more human, less like a character in a drama. You saw us, she said, not looking at me. Hard not to, I replied, keeping my distance. What is this, Veronica? Are you with him? Or are you with the director? She turned, her expression unreadable. I'm with whoever keeps me alive, Landon. This hospital. It's not what you think. Sterling and McCartney aren't rivals. They're partners. She walked toward me, her eyes searching mine. Section 7. Do you know what they do there? They bring in patients who don't exist on any government registry. Wealthy men who need donations that don't come from a waiting list. McCartney performs the surgeries. Sterling launders the money. My blood ran cold. And you? What's your role? I'm the distraction, she said, a bitter smile touching her lips. I keep the new doctors busy. I make them feel like they're part of an elite club. And if they get too curious, I provide the evidence needed to ruin their careers. McCartney has photos of you in the break room from last night, Landon. From his angle, it looks like you were forcing yourself on me. I felt a surge of nausea. The hand on the thigh, the accidental exposure. It was all a setup. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Because, she said, stepping into my space and grabbing my hand. Her hand was trembling. Because I thought you were like the others. But you looked at me with something other than just lust last night. You looked at me with hope. And I haven't seen that in a long time. She pressed a small USB drive into my palm. The evidence is here. The real ledgers. The names of the donors. But you have to move tonight. Tomorrow they're closing Section 7 and moving the inventory. I had two choices. Take the drive to the police and risk McCartney and Sterling finding out before they arrived, or play the hero and see it through. I chose a third way. I went back to the ward and began my rounds as if nothing had changed. But as I passed McCartney's office, I saw him leaving with a surgical kit. He was heading toward the renovated wing. I followed him. Section 7 was hidden behind a set of double doors marked Biohazard. Inside, the air smelled of heavy ozone and copper. It was a state-of-the-art surgical suite, far more advanced than the ones I was allowed to use. I saw McCartney through a viewing window. He was prepping a patient, a young man who looked drugged, not sick. Sterling was there too, checking a tablet. The buyer is arriving at 3 a.m., Sterling said. Make sure the kidney is viable. We can't afford another accident, like the one in June. I pulled out my phone to record, but a hand clamped over my mouth. Don't, a voice whispered. It was Veronica. She was back in her uniform, looking as angelic as ever. She pointed toward the security cameras I hadn't noticed. They'll see you, she breathed into my ear. Give me your phone. I know the blind spots. I can get closer. I hesitated. Was this another trap? But then I looked into her eyes. There was a raw terror there that couldn't be faked. I handed her the phone. She slipped into the shadows, moving with a grace that was almost supernatural. I waited in the dark corridor, my heart echoing the ticking of the wall clock. 10 minutes passed. Then 20. Suddenly, the alarm started screaming. The biohazard lights flashed red, bathing the hallway in a hellish glow. I saw McCartney rush out of the OR, his face pale. The system is wiping, he screamed toward Sterling. Someone is purging the servers. I saw Veronica then. She wasn't hiding anymore. She was standing at the main console in the nurse's station, her fingers flying across the keys. Veronica, what are you doing? Sterling roared, reaching for her. She didn't flinch. She pulled a small scalpel from her pocket, the one doctors use for delicate incisions, and held it to her own throat. Stay back, she cried. The police are already at the gates. I sent the files 10 minutes ago. Every transaction, every surgery, every accident. It's over. Sterling froze. His face transformed from a grandfatherly mask into something monstrous. You bitch. I gave you everything. I saved you from the streets. You made me a ghost, she spat. McCartney tried to bolt for the back exit, but the doors were electronically locked. He turned looking at me, his eyes wide with desperation. Landon, help me. I can get you out of this. We can say it was all Sterling. I'll give you the deputy position, no, the director's chair. I looked at the man who had tried to blackmail me, then at the woman who had risked everything to end the nightmare. The night shift is over, doctor, I said, my voice steady for the first time in months. The aftermath was a blur of blue lights and sirens. Sterling and McCartney were taken away in handcuffs. The patient in Section 7 was stabilized and moved to a real hospital. As the sun began to peek over the horizon, I sat on the back of an ambulance, a shock blanket draped over my shoulders. The hospital, my hometown dream, was now a crime scene. Veronica came over to me. She looked exhausted, the angelic facade completely gone. She had a bruise on her cheek where Sterling had tried to grab her. "What now?" I asked. She looked at the sunrise. "Now, I testify. And then I go somewhere where no one knows my name. Somewhere where nurse isn't a code word for accomplice." She reached out and touched my hand. It wasn't a tease this time. It was a goodbye. "You're a good doctor, Landon. Don't let this place kill that." She walked toward the police cruisers, leaving me alone in the morning light. A week later, I received a package in the mail. There was no return address. Inside was a single silk stocking and a note written in elegant, looping script. "The game was real, Landon. But the winner wasn't who you thought. Check your bank account." I logged in. My balance, which had been a meager few thousand from my resident's salary, was now 7 figures. Veronica hadn't just sent the evidence to the police. She had diverted Sterling's last offshore payment. I looked out the window at the city. I was a doctor fresh out of school, with a clean record and a fortune I shouldn't have. The night shift nurses are crazy, they say. But in the dark of Silver Oaks, I realized the truth. The world isn't run by the angels or the demons. It's run by those who know how to play the game when the lights go out. And for the first time, I was ready to play.